So here we have the Never Summer Dipstick. You know, I have felt like a dipstick many a time. So I felt like this board and I would fit well together. We rode this, I rode this mainly with Union Stratas, but I did put on my Union Super Pros. And you know, to give this board a quick summary, you know, I would say it has a lot of similarities to the old Proto, and it's somewhat similar to the new Prototype 2. If you were riding the Warlock before, this has a lot of that personality of the Warlock.
Great board.
It's the old rocker and camber as opposed to the new Ripsaw next to me. It's not an Asym twin like the Prototype 2, and it kind of sits like flex and ride-wise, kind of between like the Fun Slinger and the Prototype 2, and it's a fun board. It's got that like mountain freestyle type feel that I think has a wide variety and a wide appeal to those people who really like to ride centered, really like to ride switch, and just want something to do a little bit of everything on piste and off. You know, I was with Adidas Tactical ADVs. What were you with again? Your
32 lights.
32 lights. Give you a little flex here. By the way, we're here at Mount Bachelor at Nick's trailer. It's storming outside. Usually I sit and freeze my ass off with a wall of snow behind me, but you know, it's got a good soft flex, and you can see it's like a medium soft to medium, and you can see here with the Prototype 2, you can definitely feel there's a little more stiffness in the Prototype 2, but on snow, that personality is pretty close, wouldn't you think?
Definitely.
I mean, both have this super damp kind of feel that really like transcends its flex. They put, I think, a lot of rubber, a lot of ABS, whatever they're doing at Never Summer, there's always this personality. It's that nice balance of being damp. Some might not like it, but most will, because when you're going off piste, like with the Weston Logger, which is like a soft park board that's not really made for that, so it's not a fair comparison.
Yeah.
But you're on boards like that, or like free ride boards like we were on this morning, they were doing pretty well, but then you get on this and you're like, wow, it's kind of like softer, but it's like it rubbers over things.
Definitely.
You feel like you have a layer without sacrificing too much pop. I feel like they surprise you. The pop feeling doesn't feel like it's
a ton of life in this board.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's going to have a lot of life being that damp, and then you pop it, and it doesn't have that like that light poppy energy, but you get to the same place. Definitely. And you're like, wow, how'd that pop like that?
Definitely.
You just don't feel it as much, but it's doing the same thing.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And even late in the day when you're coming home or coming down the mountain and there's just moguls and chunder, I mean, this thing is just going to tear right through it, and it's going to just handle everything.
Yeah,
no problem. If
you ride on a Saturday and you're dealing with messy resort snow, this and so many Never Summers, that's where they really shine. And this was just a blast off piste. I've ridden this for a few days now. You know, I have like 4 or 5 days, and this was your first day. We're kind of finishing up the review with you here, and and it's just got this kind of like, could you tell, like, I felt like it was even a touch better, even though it was softer than the Prototype 2 in the uneven snow, but it was so close.
It's really close. It's really close to tell which one is better or worse. I have more kids. I'm a freestyle snowboard coach, and I think 60-70% of my kids were on the Proto. They're jump kids. It definitely can handle the big stuff, and it's a very responsive board. But this is a better free ride board, I would say.
Yeah, I felt like it. The more mellow elliptical camber was a little easier in the powder, and I felt that with the Warlock versus the Prototype 2. But then when you get on groomers, and the spring out of the turn on this is so much better and so much more rewarding.
Edge hold,
yeah, and it's just got, I think it's just got more drive, more pop, and more of kind of the way I like to ride on groomers. But then off-piste, this is pretty close to this. But this was definitely the winner off-piste, I think.
Still lay some trenches with this guy.
You could, yeah, for sure. And it definitely feels a little more loose, a little softer, but they're really close. It kind of feels a little bit like that old Warlock or the old Proto before it went Asym. Just a little bit softer though. You know, talking about the camber profile and kind of like the on-snow feel, it does really like have this kind of loose feel. Like when you go from like kind of a mellow hybrid camber between the bindings, that has a little bit more of a stable feel. That isn't catchy, but a little more stable for one footing and flat basing. This, when you get off the chair, sometimes like you know, like when I was skating on a long flat cat track today, and you were on the Weston Logger, which is flat to rocker, and I was on this, I kept spinning a lot.
Oh, sure.
You know, it was kind of doing this, and I kept having to kind of properly place my toe edge so it tracked right, where otherwise I was just kind of spinning around. And that's one of the things that hybrid rocker has. It has this personality that in harder snow, it kind of wants to auto spin on you.
Sure.
It's super catch free, but it's auto spinny. And then when you get on like good snow, it feels pretty stable and tracks well, and it's fine. And it's not much better with the Ripsaw camber profile either. Both of them are rocker dominant, so they're doing this a lot. And but I think it's a very forgiving, very easy board that anybody could ride, from beginner to like expert. You know. Definitely. To pros to those pros that we don't know. But you know, it's got this fun, easy personality, easy to skid turns. Just, it's easy to be you, whoever you are on this board. The edge hold, I think, is pretty good. It's like, you know, it can really hang in hard snow. When we got those hard patches, I didn't feel like it was grabbing too much or too little. It felt like it just...
I think it handled great. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that grabby feel too. Like, you know how you can get it, especially the snow. We were riding some snow off-piste today that was really... Sometimes you'd get into a layer of crust that would crack and down into softer snow, and then you'd get soft snow and then wet snow that would just stick. And it never grabbed too much in those soft conditions. And then when we hit the hard patches, it felt competent. It didn't feel like a board I'd want to ride every day on the East Coast.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on, actually.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it felt like around here at Mount Bachelor, most of the days we want to ride, you know, if you're in the Sierras or if you're out in Colorado, most days you want to ride, you're going to be fine on this board. It's going to be competent when you hit those hard patches. But on those hard to icy days, there are boards with more disruption in the side cut that can do a better job. But those boards often sometimes grab in the soft snow, so you know, your toss up. But turn initiation, I felt this thing was fast, like medium fast to fast. I loved going through the you know, those little areas off piste today. And we were just kind of doing this.
Side hits, man. This is just made for side hits and just made for, you know, runs on Bachelor. Honestly. Yeah.
And it's not, you know, it's not like the board you want to set back. You know, it's really a mountain freestyle twin.
Definitely.
Mountain freestyle twin, but that turn initiation is so much fun, and the turning experience, we kind of touched on it a little better. I like the overall turning experience, especially on groomers and you know, in areas where you're not off piste. I like the Prototype 2 a good bit better. I felt like it just had more spring out of the turn,
stability.
Yeah, and this, that mellow elliptical camber, rocker camber profile, I felt like was not as dynamic in a turn, but when I was turning off piste, I felt like it was more fun to be on this. It felt, I don't know, it had more flow, maybe a touch more float, because there's less of that board pointing down, kind of like, you know, like like you're semi-hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you're not ready to fully penetrate it, but you're just kind of like, you know. But like that's kind of what I felt like with the Prototype 2, where I felt a little less of that chubby thing, you know, that you get with all the hybrid rocker boards. It's not quite ready to present. But you know, but it's still like got a very smooth, easy feel in powder, and I really like that. And
we were riding heavy pow too today, so it was hard to push at times, but it powered right through.
Yeah, it's like that thick, nasty powder that
Pacific Northwest. Cement.
We've been lucky to not get a lot of it this year.
Yeah, it wasn't no Utah champagne, that's for sure.
It's still better. It's like, you know, it's like pizza and sex. It's still better than nothing, you know.
You darn tootin'.
It's still good. it's still pretty good out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like uneven terrain like we talked about. This thing's just a champion. Saturday resort snow, you can just own it. Speed, I mean, look, it's got some Never Summer dampness in there that makes this much more damp than you would think for its flex, but it still can, you know, gets a little of that clown shoe when you get going.
Definitely, yeah.
And I felt the Proto, you know, that's where you could feel that more competent, you know, like it felt a little more competent, a little more stable at speed, a little less chatter, but they still have that Never Summer, like rubbery poppy dampness.
That being the Asym board, I mean, it worked with your turns, your heel side turns and your toe side turns perfectly.
Wasn't that? I mean,
I definitely noticed that.
That's what I love. It makes it feel better than, like, I feel like I can ride switch better on an Asym twin than I can a true twin.
Yeah.
I just feel more competent. But this is great switch. I mean, and this can bomb. If you need to bomb the mountain here and there, it's not what you get if you want to bomb.
Yeah.
But if you need to straight line here and there and power through some shit, this can do it. And these are just uneven terrain champions. They're just, you know, they're the kind of boards that are great for just dealing. If there's an uneven snow day, a soft, wet, messy, uneven snow day, I often want to be on a Never Summer board because they can just absorb that chatter in a way that's different than many other boards with the same flex. But powder, I mean, you can't really set this back much or at all. It's for those people who ride centered, you know, and if you ride switch and powder, or you just never set it back, and you ride a lot of powder, maybe this is the call over the Prototype 2. But because neither of them are really like set back directional floating powder boards. You pretty much stay centered with these, and you keep it centered all the time. And but it's very competent for a twin and powder. And then for park, we didn't really spend a lot of park time on this. We've just hit some natural features, and I felt like we talked about the pop pretty well. It's got good pop. It felt really easy hitting kickers, little features throughout Mount Bachelor, little bumps and little jumps here and there, off-piste, and I was just having a blast with this thing.
Definitely,
and felt like it comfortably aired. I wouldn't want to go super big, you know, if you're some kid who really wants to huck it. This
Proto,
one, or
100%.
the Ripsaw, you know, if you want to take it a step up even further.
Sure.
But this was so cool for who I was, you know, for who I was. I'm a little less of that person now than I was just a little while ago. But, you know, for who I am, this is the kind of board I like, you know. It's big but not too big. And even the Prototype 2, you don't have to be, you know, some guy who hucks it to have this board work either.
Right.
But you know, in terms of pipe, I had a lot of fun doing some, you know, just hanging out in the pipe, not really going that big.
It's a great pipe board, actually. Yeah, it drives the wall well. It handles the chunder in the middle really well as well too. It's fun. It's super fun on the pipe.
Yeah, and the Prototype 2 is one of my favorite pipe boards, and I felt like it was hanging with the Prototype. It felt I like this a little better.
In the pipe?
I felt like it drove a little better. I feel like just that Asym, I feel a little more confident on my heel side.
Especially that odd wall that you have. Everyone's got, your backside, your toe side wall, whatever. But it handled it really well.
Yeah, and I like that it has a little more camber, a little more drive when you're starting to feel good about your pipe riding. But I think both of them climbed the walls well, and I like this narrower, like being on a wider platformed board for me in the pipe. It's kind of scary.
Yeah,
I like
definitely.
that. I like that it's like kind of a more of a traditional old school twin that feels a little more needly.
Agreed. Yeah.
So you can just kind of, when you're getting up on that wall, you can come down to that, the right edge and come down, and it feels so much better.
Make quick adjustments.
Yeah, and then, jibbing, I really didn't jib with this, but I think it could be a pretty capable jibber. It's soft enough. It's not a daily driver there.
Yeah, I mean, I preferred, going back to the Weston Lager as far as the softness for jibbing. This would be a great jump board. I really wouldn't hit too many rails with this guy, but it works. And one thing I forgot to mention in the butterability, really breaks well in the I dig that.
the butter. It's sometimes hard to say, depending on your state.
I'm using that today.
Thanks. But it breaks well in the middle, and has more energy in the tip and tail, where some boards seem to have that butterability point, like in the tip and tail, where they're softer there.
Sure, yeah.
Did you feel that? Did
Definitely,
you notice, that's kind of a Never Summer thing. I think it's with that rocker already bending there.
Sure.
That it just bends so easy in buttering. But then if you put that energy out towards the tip and tail, it pops well with that camber there.
Yeah.
But it definitely breaks in the middle more.
Sure. Definitely.
And but all in all, I think the Dipstick's a pretty fun ride. I think for everything other than being off-piste, I liked the Prototype 2 just a little bit better for my style. But I think a lot of people could have a lot of fun with this board. And this old rocker and camber profile, I think really... I was wondering why they kept bringing it back, and then I keep seeing reasons why. Like, okay, we're off-piste. Yeah, this has a little more fun flow to it. So I think it's a great mountain freestyle ride for the right type of rider. And what do you think, Nick?
It's a great Mount Bachelor board. It handles the Pacific Northwest cement really well, and it's just side hit city.
Yeah.
So, yeah.